You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Hi, I'm Davey.
Hi, and I'm Mitch.
And we are the Bargain Bin Gamers.
What in heaven's name is this? Sometimes you just do weird stuff and I just go with it.
Theme song.
Theme song. And this is the podcast and YouTube show where we put the gay in gaming.
Whilst also looking after your hip pocket, you big homosexual.
Look at you, you big queer.
You big queer.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride, everyone. And before we pride you up, we would just like to give a big shout out to this show's associate producers.
You sound like him from the Powerpuff Girls. Do you know who that is?
No.
It's the devil. Sam Johnson and May.
Oh, spectacular.
No, for reference, they are not the devil.
They are not the devil.
They are our associate producers.
I know. Their money, their credit cards are the reason why that you can listen to this without an ad. That's the reason why I'm not begging some protein company for a discount code.
Continue the plug.
And remember, if you would like to keep this and other BQN Network podcasts coming to you every single week, give us your money at patreon.com/BQN.
It's Pride Month. You're supposed to be supporting queer people, so give us your money.
Yeah, just for this month will do.
And listen, if Patreon isn't your thing, which is homophobic if you're not, the best way you can help us is by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on your preferred platform. It helps others find the show. Especially the queer people, thank God.
And I will stress, like, it's a big thing in terms of getting the algorithm to recommend us. The more 5-star ratings we get, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, it really, really helps because the more positive reviews that it has, the more people it's going to go, okay, cool, this is something that people are listening to, recommending, and I'll recommend it to other people. And we just need that help.
So please.
Yeah. Queer voices. Especially our queer voices.
Especially these two.
Because
us two queens.
So sultry and delicious.
Oh, you've changed up from being a breathless little something at the start. There goes those eardrums.
I don't know, sorry. But anyway, as you said before, we are at the tail end of Pride Month. And, we did talk, we gave you all our thoughts on Pride Month in the last episode. So we've come back this week wanting to just talk about queer characters in gaming.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they always say representation matters or whatever the saying is. But I have to agree, being a young gay person, when I was playing video games for the first time, it was very obvious that there was not a lot of queer representation. I mean, you could probably speak even more because obviously you were playing a little bit earlier. But as the years go on and games get more inclusive and we have more people working in game industries that aren't just suits of white cishet men, more queer characters have been in, whether it be subtext or not. So today, why don't we just talk about them?
Exactly. And
who's our influential? Who's our favorites?
Yeah, and that's so, dear listener, that is what Mitchell and I have done today. Why do you find that so funny?
Just you say dear listener, singular. It's just so funny.
Listener.
You could have said dear listeners.
Well, because we're just talking to the listener.
Just the one.
They're not sitting in a crowd of people just like, are you? You're just there by yourself in your car right now.
Dear listener.
Maybe you're on the train headed to work. Maybe you've just fapped off and you're like, I'm going to listen to a podcast now.
Or maybe you're fapping.
Or maybe you're fapping listening to our sultry dulcet tones.
No, the reason when you say the listener, I just think of Pike when we leave your house when you put the podcast on for your dog.
That's my dog, yes. I do, so that my dog doesn't feel lonely. He listens to the podcast. Anyway, dear listener, what we have done is Mitch and I have gone through and made a list of some of our favorite queer characters in gaming, and we're going to be talking about them to each other and to you, dear listener. And just a little bit like, who the character is, what game they're from, what level of queerness they are. Not what level, but like where do they fit in the LGBTQIA plus a rainbow, along with any fun facts we have along the way. So, Mitch, why don't you start?
I will start.
Who do you want to call out first?
Okay, so I'm going to technically do a 2-in-1, but it'll be from the same game, so it's okay. So I thought of these ones as these were my first introductions to queer stories and queer characters in a game, right? Yep. So the selections that I've picked are from Dragon Age Inquisition, which only came out in 2014, so it wasn't even really that long ago, but this was my first interacting.
It's over 10 years ago, Dal.
Wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I was in high school at the time, and this was the first time I played a game where these were out and proud queer characters, and there was no like shame about it. They weren't like hiding it or anything. So there's Dorian Pavis from Dragon Age Inquisition, who is canonically a gay man. There's a storyline about him in the game where his sexuality is kind of like a conflict with his father, who's trying to convert him via magic. So it's kind of like a discussion around like conversion therapy and things like that. It's important because it's not incidental. It's meaningfully like informing his character. He is a queer man. The reason he joins your party is because he wants to get away from like his upbringing. So, it was quite a touching story for me as a young queer man who didn't have a very fabulous relationship with any older man in a parental figure in my life, which is not ideal.
Until you got to a point where you had relations with many older men. Am I right?
And let me tell you, I don't need a therapist. Don't even ask me. But he's often cited in media as like a benchmark for like what good queer LGBT representation should be, because it's not like a woe is me story.
Yeah.
From the minute he leaves his let's call it what it is, abusive home, he's like happier and better, and he's technically a romance option as well for if you're a male character. So it was also the first time I got to experience that in a game, which was pretty eye-opening. The other character from that game, like I said, I'll do a 2-in-1, is Sera, who's an elf. She's like an archer. She's from Dragon Age Inquisition, like I said, and she's canonically a lesbian. So they have like people of many strokes and many colors of the rainbow in the game. So she's only romanceable by the female player character. She's notoriously like quite chaotic, like irreverent. She's kind of like anti-establishment. She's very like kind of like punk rock. She's being allowed to be very flawed is kind of the reason that I really liked her. Like, I feel like queer representation used to be they have to be the perfect gay. There's like nothing wrong with them. They're usually the side characters. They're funny, they're quirky, they're different. There's nothing wrong with them. It's almost like how people will portray people with a disability. Because they're a minority, they can't have a fault because they have to be the benchmark, right? Sera is like really annoying and like kind of a bad person. She's fabulous to be around. She's kind of like a bad person, which I thought was a really interesting take on like a queer character, especially for 2014. But she shows that queer women written with strong personalities beyond just being a lesbian. Because I feel like back then lesbianism was such a fetish, and it still kind of is, but she was a fully rounded character, and she just happened to be.
Well,
gay.
It makes me think of how a lot of early representation was often more lesbian representation, which was great, but it was always more for the male gaze.
It was for the male gaze because it was fetishization.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was because if usually it was men making programs, presumably for other men, and they're like, okay, men will probably deal with two women
more palatably.
Yeah, more palatably than they will anything else.
For sure. Yes, and then I'll mention them later. You go to the next one.
Well, one thing I was going to say about that, and this is something I thought about when I was doing my list as well, is, games like Dragon Age, some of the modern Assassin's Creeds, Mass Effect, which I'm going to talk about in a bit as well. They often have romance options. So I was very careful in my list to not mention the main characters from those games, but more the romanceable characters.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because, and more power to them, because you as the player had the option to flirt with whoever you wanted to flirt with. But like you mentioned with one of those characters, the elf one could only be flirted with if you were playing a female character.
It's the same for Dorian as well. I should have mentioned, you can only romance him if you're a male character. You can't do it if you're a woman. So those were the two that I kind of thought as like my pillar ones when I was younger, because they were strictly gay characters. There was a gay man or a lesbian woman. So, which for 2014 was revolutionary to me because I was coming out at the time. So I was like, wow, how fabulous.
My first one is Ellie from The Last of Us.
A classic. I can't believe I forgot.
I know. So, because what I loved about Ellie, and it was maybe drawn out a little bit more in the TV series
for sure.
recently, but you only really learned that Ellie was, I guess you would probably say, queer?
Yeah, she kind of, I mean, she's only young as well, so it's hard to put a pin on someone when they're so young.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to talk too much about The Last of Us. Everyone knows The Last of Us. But what I love is that her sexuality was confirmed during the 2014 DLC Left Behind.
Loved that.
Through her relationship with her childhood friend Riley.
Yeah.
But, and obviously they built on that in the second part.
Yes.
Where, it became the whole story where she had the ex-girlfriend, the kiss at the dance. And,
The homophobia at the dance as well.
And Joel sticking up for her and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I just, and I love just what a wonderful, well-rounded character she is.
Yes.
She's a bit of a tomboy, but she's also a little bit feminine and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
And she's really, like most young people are, really just trying to discover what her sexuality is in a world that is up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. And I think I mentioned it before as well, where it's like she's so young. So she's still kind of got all these aspects, but it's so fantastic that her sexuality is not her character. Like she is not like lesbian first, character second. She is, or I get maybe bi, maybe pan, who knows. But she is a well-rounded character who just happens to be queer, which is kind of like the exact way you should be writing queer characters.
Yeah.
Like she is girly, she's tomboyish, she's impulsive, she's soft, she's tough. Like she's got everything. She just happens to be queer, which is kind of how you should be writing queer characters. But
and and the funny thing is I always imprinted or felt a connection with Ellie even before I knew that she was gay.
she made me feel paternal. I wanted to be a dad. I was like, oh my God, my baby.
I know she's fantastic. I mean that was the first game where I really gave a shit about my characters.
Yeah.
And then when I played the DLC and realized that she was a lesbian, I'm like, oh, love it even more. But yeah, she's often described as the first queer woman to lead a major blockbuster game.
For sure.
The kiss with Riley and Left Behind was widely treated as a landmark moment for LGBTQIA plus representation in the AAA space. What I found interesting was, and I actually remember thinking that this was the case. So Naughty Dog redesigned Ellie's face partway through development after people kept comparing her to Elliot Page.
Yes, I remember that because it was a big controversy when the original game came out.
Yeah, and because I remember thinking even the redesign, I was sort of like, I was like, this feels like Elliot Page to
Have you
me.
seen the original actress that Ellie's based off, though? They do look very similar.
They do.
Yeah,
They do. Yeah. But anyway, love Ellie, both in video game and live action
Agreed.
form. Like, oh my God. Oh, what's that? What's the actor's name?
I'm a bad person.
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey, yeah.
Bella
yeah.
Ramsey, yes.
Yeah. I believe they're also queer as well, so they go by they, them. Yeah.
Yes. Like,
Very good.
Exceptional. Like,
Also, can I just say, to be punk rock, because it's Pride season, all those people that are freaking complaining about like she's like not an Ellie, like they were all like complaining because I don't know, I guess they don't like the actor. Off. They're a good actor.
that's all I have to say. Is fine.
Well, they're a good actor. Like what happened to a meritocracy? They're a great actor.
No, they're a great actor, and both the video game actor and the TV show actor both make the character their own.
Exactly, and the character's so well written. Like it takes a good actor to play them, and there they are. So anyway, I'll leave that at the door.
Who have you got next, Mitchell?
Okay, so my next one, like I said, I'm going to do a little dual pick again, just because I want to talk about a similar topic for similar characters. I'm now talking about my two favorite trans characters that I grew up with. So first one, once again, is from Dragon Age Inquisition. They really did run the gamut in 2014. So it's a character called Krem. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Cream, get on top.
Oh my
Cream.
So it's spelled Krem. So they're canonically portrayed as a trans man. Now, this was the first time I had ever interacted with transness in a game. Right.
Okay.
I'd never I didn't know what being trans was. I knew what kind of doing drag was and everything like that. I never understood like what trans was. I was still kind of young. My parents are kind of, they don't really have their finger on the pulse. So the first openly trans masculine character in a major AAA game, pretty big, identifies discussed directly and very respectfully in the game. I remember hearing about it and they would, can't remember the exact storyline, but it was like, you know, they came from a place where like women weren't supposed to be strong and powerful and they never felt they could fit in. And then they realized that they weren't a woman. So, which I thought was quite good. Not only that, they're also portrayed as extremely competent and charismatic, which I find we've touched on it before with queer characters where they often feel like set dressing. The queer people are just kind of there to decorate the story.
Yep.
This person is like in the army. They're like one of your lieutenants or something. They're extremely competent. They're very good at their job, which is like a bit of a
And
breath
they
of
just
fresh air.
happen to be trans.
Yeah, like I said, they just happen to be trans, which I kind of think is the perfect way to write
It's like
it.
if you go back to the 90s, there was actually a lot of trans characters in TV shows and
sure.
movies in the 90s.
Yeah.
But
They just never said it.
they always died.
Well, that's
Or they always died.
What's the term? To
or-
bury your gays?
bury your gays, or there was always some kind of horrific murder, or even a suicide,
Yeah.
or something like
Or
that.
worse, they have like a terrible backstory, which is why they're trans.
Yeah, and it was always like a heart wrenching, like, oh my god, like, you know, the gays must suffer.
They
and
couldn't have a happy ending.
always suffer. They couldn't just be like a normal part of the cast. I mean,
Agreed.
like you could, sure, explore a bit of the struggle of pride, but like, why does it always have to be so effing tragic?
Save yourself the bleep. I agree. And the thing is as well, I think that this is another like tentpole moment around like queerness in gaming, because this was a really big point of like normalizing trans people in a game. Like this is a AAA game. This was a game that was played by millions of people, all very young, very impressionable. If this kind of game came out today, the pushback would be insane. Like, can you imagine like the redneck, like Republican voting, like the righties would be like, you're pushing this on kids.
The anti-woke and all
The
that,
anti-woke.
Yeah.
But they were really eye-opening to me. And then the second one that I'm going to add into this is Vivian from Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a pivot.
I know. The reason is because this game came out in 2004. I didn't play it until much later because I played the remake. Vivian is a trans woman in the game. So I don't know if you know
Really?
Vivian? Yeah. So I did a bit of research into it because I wanted to know. So in the original Japanese script, do you know much about like the Japanese language?
I don't know. Do you?
Not really. I did research on it.
The
though.
way he's looking at me right now, by the way, dear listener, he's like, do you know about the Japanese language? Because allow me to educate you.
So the reason that I ask is because in the game, in Japanese, you have like gendered responses. So like you can say if you're more of a boy or a girl or a man or a woman and stuff like that. In the script, Vivian explicitly states that they are trans. They say, oh, I used to be a boy. There's like a screenshot. We'll find it somewhere maybe one day. And it says, oh, you know, I used to be a boy, but now I'm much happier being a girl.
Right.
Now,
okay.
In some of the older English localizations and the remake that I played, it was removed or downplayed, which is obviously a little bit controversial, but the original game explicitly states it, which I think is pretty good for 2004, by the way.
Yeah. But disappointing that it's
Disappointing.
I mean, especially for Nintendo to include that in 2004. Amazing.
Pretty crazy.
But also very Nintendo to maybe just kind of pull it back a little
For
bit.
the Western audience.
Yeah.
It became a pretty major talking point in queer gaming retrospective due to like the localization, which obviously makes sense. And like, for me, 2004, to talk about like a trans character is pretty monumental. So for me, when I played the game and I did the research about it, I was like, oh, that is like really bold of Nintendo. And like, especially for, you know, this is Mario. This is their tentpole game to put a queer character, a trans character in their game. Pretty fabulous. So Slater Vivian.
Birdo ate your heart out.
Well, I'll be bringing them up later.
Well, on the same topic of transgender characters in games,
just one.
in game. I am going to talk about my next one, which is actually a real all-time favorite of mine, and I've actually wanted to get the actor who portrayed this character onto the show. I've been stalking them
If you're
on
listening.
Instagram, and that is the character of Tyler Ronan from the Don't Nod episodic series called Tell Me Why.
Never even heard of it. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I mean, you're obviously
Tell me why.
I know you're a big fan of Don't Nod.
Well, I like some of their older stuff. Some of their newer stuff is not exactly in my vein, but yeah.
because they also made that other series that had a lot of queer characters in it.
It's the one where you have time travel powers.
Yes. Well, what's it called? Don't Nod Games. Don't Nod
David's
Games.
Googling his laptop now.
I know.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange.
God.
Yeah, okay, we're going to be editing that.
Life is Strange.
They made the Life is Strange series. So if you have not played Tell Me Why, I would strongly recommend. It was published by Xbox Studios, but I think it's available on more platforms now. But the first episode can actually be downloaded for free.
Oh,
Yeah,
Love that.
At this point in time. So Tyler Ronan is the co-protagonist of Tell Me Why, alongside his identical twin sister Allison. The twins return to their childhood home in a small Alaskan town and use a supernatural telepathic bond to unravel memories of their troubled past. Now, Tyler is a transgender man and is widely recognized as the first transgender protagonist to headline a game from a major studio.
yeah, that's awesome.
And voiced and acted by August Aiden Black, who himself is a trans man. And it's really, really cool story because, I mean, and the fact Tyler's transgender story is a plot in the game itself, returning to the small town. Tyler has not been home since Tyler transitioned. And it's handled with a lot of style and grace and sensitivity that feels genuine and believable. The way the people in the town react. There are some people who you can tell, especially the male characters, are trying too hard to be cool with it.
Of course.
Whilst there's other characters who are just like, oh, hey, Tyler, good to see you kind of thing, right?
Is there much like pushback in the game? Is there like some of like the women are like a little bit like put off or?
There are certainly some characters that you can tell are uncomfortable because they don't know how to react. And I think that's probably, and I can't speak for trans people, but I know I've witnessed that before, right?
Sure, yeah.
You know, I can't talk on behalf of the trans experience because that is not my experience. But what I will say is Don't Nod worked closely with GLAAD, specifically their director of transgender representation on the story, dialogue, characters design, and voice casting. So August Black did far more than voice the role. During recording sessions, he gave edits to the script whenever a line did not ring true to him and drew on his own experiences to shape key moments. And at the Gaming Awards, which we covered a few weeks ago in 2021, Tyler won the Best LGBTQ Character, and Tell Me Why won the Authentic Representation Award.
Love it. Can I just say, that's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
If you do not, like if I was going to make a game, God forbid,
Yeah.
I kind of am, but let's pretend that I'm not, and I wanted to write a story about a woman growing up, I wouldn't just write it myself. I would get a woman to advise me and give script changes. That's how it should always be.
100%.
Obviously, we're begging for crumbs to get representation every now and then, but the fact that like a AAA game studio is that invested in like the authenticity of the queer experience, kudos to that.
I know.
You got to give snaps to that.
And it's a great performance as well from August. Like, and even just when I learned that whole thing about the input that Don't Nod and the developers of the game let August have on the game itself and on the character and on the story and on the plot, I'm like, okay, that's why it feels so real and that's why it feels so genuine.
Because it is.
So Tell Me Why. First episode can be downloaded for free, at least on Steam and Xbox. I don't know if it's on PS5, but well worth your time.
Yeah, I love that. That's the kind of queer gaming that I really want to see. Some of mine are a little bit more cherry picking, but that is like, this is a queer story. Let's talk about queerness.
Well, what have you cherry picked next up?
Well, these are less cherry picked. It's my next duo, because apparently I'm doing this in duos, more of like these are just more of my favorites. They're not like a perfect representation, but they are my favorites. And it comes from one of my favorite game series ever, Hades.
I know how much you love Hades.
I love Hades. I love Hades 2. I have not completed Hades 2 yet because it is so hard and I'm very bad at gaming. But I've played Hades. I've played so many hours of it. I've played Hades 2. It's really, really good. So my picks from those games, because they are very gay games. They are just kind of like dripping in homosexuality. I've picked the two main characters, Zagreus and Melinoë. Melinoë? I can never say that name very well. Big fan, huge. Melinoë. But they are canonically queer. Just in the game. They are just queer people. So maybe call them pan, maybe bi. It's kind of hard because they can also romance like ghosts and monsters and stuff. So maybe they could be pan.
Love that.
Do monsters have genders? Who knows? Anyway, in the game, you can basically romance any character. you can romance all manner of gender expressions, gods, whatever, and they have no shame in it. There's no like, oh, hush hush. Like everyone's very flirty back. And everyone's it's just a aspect of their character that makes them more whole. Because obviously, if you're like an immortal being, of course you'd just kind of just be bi, wouldn't you? Why not just have sex with everyone? And it was just really refreshing because I know I can't remember the studio, but they notoriously make like very queer characters kind of throughout their whole catalog. Like everyone's kind of just able to romance everyone. And I think that offers a lot of freedom to gamers. So that's kind of why I picked them, because you can just make that character straight. You could just romance the heterosexual people. You could romance only the gay people. So like when I played Hades, I romanced Thanatos, the god of death, and they're steamy. The romance is real steamy with those ones. So.
But I love that because that leans into a particular part of the queer experience, which I think is quite strong with gay men, which is that flirty, fun sexuality.
Flirty. Yeah.
Now, it's not always about sexuality and sex, but there is a big part of the culture which is, right? And I know that you and I probably identify with that as gay men. You know, we certainly come from that ilk of gay men where everything's very flirty and sexual and all that kind of stuff.
I am a Libra, so
I'm just an Aquarius. I don't know what that means. Hot. Anyway, but like it does, like that's, I think we resonate with that because it's like, yeah, you know what? This reminds me of just like a hyper stylized version of gay sexuality or queer sexuality.
Well, this is what's funny as well. This is why I put Melinoë on to the other part of this is, obviously I'm not a woman, nor am I a lesbian, but I romance.
You sure about that in that top? Have you had on backwards?
Excuse me.
And that beard?
What me and my top do are none of your concern. But in the game, I romance Nemesis, who's like this very big, brawny, hot woman. She's like a big girl, but she's very dainty when you kind of romance her. And it's just it's less like flirty. It's still very I don't want to call it sexual, but it's still very flirty, but it's very like warm and sweet and loving. And I was like, this is really, really nice and fabulous representation. And that's why I thought it was good to have them both, because the idea of having flexibly queer characters is something so different. In these games, like you don't really get the ability to kind of just romance whoever you want, but this is such freedom, which I think is kind of a great expression of queerness. There's no such thing as a binary. It kind of all falls onto some kind of scale. So I thought it was just fabulous. Yeah. And because I love those games, I just thought they were such a great representation, because millions of people have played these games. They've won 1 million awards.
Yes.
And they have canonically queer characters as the protagonist, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that queerness flies over a lot of people's heads at the same time.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why I think it, like, I don't want to say, like, you should be quiet about being queer. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality of the situation is, and let's not go too deep into it, is successful gaming is cis, het, white, right? If you want to sell copies, that is the main market. So you can either do it up front on your face, like, tell me why. And I'm sure the neckbeards were screaming about it. I'm sure they were, right?
Yeah.
Or you can make Hades, which is an incredibly good, incredibly competent game, and give people the option, which I think might be the future of gaming. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because we've been able to seek out what we want from the game, and the straight people got to seek out what they wanted. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You play the game you want to play.
Play the game your way.
Exactly. I'm going to do a little bit of a block for my next one as well, right? So I think this is very similar to what you started with Dragon Age, which romanceable characters in some of my favorite games, particularly Cyberpunk 2077, and the Mass Effect series. So I'm going to start with Judy Alvarez from Cyberpunk. Judy is a brain dance technician and editor in Night City. Building game as the most talented brain dance editor in the city, working at a Lizzie's bar, and is tied to the Moxies, and is a major supporting character and potential romance for V. And fits into the lesbian character because, like you were talking about before with Dragon Age, romanceable only by V with a female body and a female voice, and that's important because you can characterize and change your character in Cyberpunk in so many ways.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can make them intersex if you want, all kinds of stuff, right? But only if you have completely made them female representing with the female voice option.
Yeah.
And there was another character, there was a non-binary character in Cyberpunk as well, who I couldn't quite find the name of, but I remember they're an NPC. There's a brief story around them as well. But I remember like you race in their car at one point, and I was like, oh my God, there's a non-binary bumper sticker on this car. But
Obsessed with how in 2077 we still have bumper stickers, by the way. Big fan of that.
Love that. But yeah, Judy is voiced in English by Carla Tassera, who is a Latina and connected strongly with Judy's heritage and received a BAFTA nomination for the role. Tassera has said that during auditions, she and her agent initially assumed Judy was a code name for a completely different character, Sasquatch, and that she only learned Judy was written as gay shortly before recording the romance scenes.
Love
which
it.
is very interesting. In a similar vein, so in Mass Effect as well, you also had Steve, Cortez, and Kaidan Alenko. Steve was from Mass Effect 3 and was an Alliance shuttle pilot and mechanic aboard the Normandy SR2, who flew the Kodiak shuttle that drops Shepard squads into missions. So he was gay and a romance option for male Shepard only, and is generally regarded as the first gay character in the Mass Effect series. Whereas I believe Kaidan is more bisexual from Mass Effect. Sorry, I think it was in the first game, and was a romance option for female Shepard only, but becomes romanceable by male Shepard as well. In 3, that's right, yes, which is how his bisexuality was established. Now, I'm a big Mass Effect fan, and I remember it was one of the first games I remember where like being so happy that I finally had gay romance options. I'm pretty sure maybe they existed before the Mass Effect series. I'm not too sure.
Probably.
But for me, it was the first time I remember, especially in Mass Effect 2, I think that was the first time you could really, I was like, oh, hang on, I've got flirty text options
Dialogue,
with
yeah.
male characters, and
It is
I'm
like what I
playing
did
as
with
male
Dragon Age.
Shepard.
How fun.
So yeah, I loved that about those. But what else have you got for us, Mitchell?
So what I'm going to do is I was going to mention Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn because in the DLC she was portrayed as queer because she has a girlfriend in that. But I've actually never played that game, so I don't want to be a LARPer, which is a new term that the kids use. So I'm now going to talk about some of my favorite queer coded characters.
Nice.
I know you have more queer characters. I couldn't think
I've
of
got
them.
some queer coded. Well,
Okay, good, yeah. Because I haven't played too many games, which I guess is kind of a problem, with queer characters in them. But I wanted to make a bit of a shout out to like queer coded characters because they are actually some of the more trailblazing ones for me. I'll start with the latest, like the one from the past that I personally remember when I was playing the game. I was like, that's a queer person, very obviously. Once again, I'm going to bundle these two together because they're from the same game. And of course, it's my favorite series of all time, Pokemon. Now, my first ever video game.
I'm shocked.
My first ever video game, and if you guys are longtime listeners, you'll know this is one of my most influential games ever, Pokemon Emerald for the Game Boy Advance SP that I played in 2002. Oh, sorry, 2003 Emerald came out.
Yes.
And it's Wallace, who is either...
And Gromit.
No, shut up. It's Wallace, who's either the final gym leader in Ruby and Sapphire or the champion in Emerald, spoiler for a 25-year-old game. And Tucker, who is another character.
Oh, Tucker is going to be gay no matter
Good old
what, mate.
Tucker. Now, these characters are...
Tuck in. Sorry.
Tuck out. My tuck popped. These characters are portrayed as very effeminate men, right? So Wallace is kind of like...
Not that unusual for Pokemon.
Exactly. Pokemon's notoriously super gay, but obviously they can't say it because it's a kid's game. Now, Wallace is like, he has like a basement full of like only women that are like obsessed with him. Like, it's very odd to say that out loud, actually. Sorry, everyone.
A basement full of women who are obsessed with him.
Don't worry,
I think I've seen this documentary on Netflix.
Oh my God. I'm moving on. But he's like dressed very effeminately. He's posing in all these dramatic ways. He uses beautiful Pokemon. In the game, they have Pokemon Contest, which is like a beauty pageant for Pokemon. And he's like the best at it because of course he is. And then Tucker is like a post-game character and he's basically a drag queen. Right. He's basically in full drag, basically, right? And he's basically like putting on like shows and performances with his Pokemon. Now, they don't explicitly mention anything queer in these games. They're from 2002. But I remember seeing them and I was like, one of these things is not like the other. Like these are very obviously flamboyant. And I was a bit of a flamboyant kid, as you probably can't tell by my outfit. So it just resonated with me from a young age that like this world has this in it and it's not an issue, which as a young person going through the idea that it is an issue to be feminine or effeminate and flamboyant, maybe it's not okay. Pokemon said it was okay.
But it's very much like all the old Disney villains were always very effeminate, like Jafar and all that kind of
Scar.
Yeah,
Scar's gay.
There's something very queer. Even Ursula the Sea Witch.
Yes, obviously, like got a lesbian.
Big Bulldyke.
Yes, yes.
Don't underestimate the importance of body language.
But oh my goodness. But for these characters, like they were just it's the subtext of them. That's why they're queer coded. But like they've never been explicitly mentioned to be gay. But just as a young person, I was so impressionable and young. They've just stuck in my brain for so long because they were just so effeminate and queer. So I thought they were just quite fabulous. And for 2002 and 2005, like I was just a baby.
I've got one that I think sits in the queer-coded category, which is Sander Cohen from Bioshock, which is an NPC in Bioshock, a celebrated artist, composer, and playwright of the underwater city of Rapture. And one of the standout characters of the original Bioshock game, the player meets him as an unhinged, sadistic ruler of Fort Frolic, who forces you to help complete a macabre artwork before he will let you leave. Now, the writers of the show have since confirmed that Sander was gay. However, his sexuality was never stated outright in the game, but it is heavily implied, especially because other characters call him an old fruit. And he refers to Andrew Ryan, the main baddie, as the man I once loved. And relationships with his male proteges are suggested. Ken Levine has later confirmed in a 2016 social media post that he intended Cohen to be a gay man. And I've actually read the prequel books to Bioshock where it's very obvious that Cohen is gay in those. In fact, but the only problem is he's one of those old theater gays who's a little predatory.
Yep.
So it's not like
no one of those old theater guys. Love that.
I know he's like, would you like a kettle chip? If you know, you know. But it's he. I don't know if it's good representation or not, but he was definitely a queer coded character in that game. And I know we're kind of running out on time, so we're gonna have to do some honorable mentions.
Yes, for sure.
But I did want to also mention like two recent favorites of mine from the indie scene. And this is a game that you and I have covered on this show and interviewed the developers. And that is Ted Ainsley and Diego from Nocturnals.
For sure. Well, very, very good game. Made me have some good feels.
Yes. Now, if you haven't played it, dear listener,
you can go to our podcast channel and you can listen to our review and our interview.
It's so good. Now, we've got Ted and Diego, who are two gay men, young men, sort of teenage boys, I guess, maybe, or
young adults.
And they're in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by creatures called the Nocturnals. And they meet each other. They potentially fall in love. Not always, depending on how you play the game. But they are still both very much gay. And the game points to their growing romance between the two of them. And in particular editing, Ted can choose to share a last kiss with Diego. Their specific labels are never spelled out on screen. So the relationship is shown rather than formally stated, which is a key thing in writing, which is showing, not telling. Not them having to go like, "Ooh, I'm gay." Like you can tell the characters feel something towards each other.
Because of how they interact.
Yeah. And, Nocturnals was made as a real-life love letter from Max to his boyfriend Pablo.
Yeah.
Adorable boys.
Very,
Love
very
them
sweet.
both so much.
If someone made a game for me, the way that I would marry that man.
I know.
So sweet. What a fabulous gesture. And correct me if I'm wrong, the music in the game is actually made by his partner, right?
It is. And look, I know it's been a while, but we have covered it extensively on this show. And there is a sequel currently in development. And I've been chatting to Max about getting him back on the show with Diego to talk about how the sequel is shaping up. But just the whole thing is just a perfect queer game that has been done again so genuinely and so authentically, and it has a well-deserved cult following. The characters are so lovable, but I can tell from the trailer we may be getting some twists that may be uncomfortable for our loved characters in the sequel.
Which will make me sad.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run through my honorable mentions now.
I'll do mine after
and then
you.
I'll let you run through yours. So I've also got Sam from Gone Home. So Sam is a lesbian, and at the heart of the game is about her first love with Yolanda De Soto, and it's very much kind of like a walking simulator kind of game. But yeah, it becomes obvious to you that you are playing a lesbian character, and there is a lesbian love story at the heart of that game over time. I've also mentioned Mad Moxie from Borderlands, who is bisexual, never explicitly labeled in the game, but clearly established through dialogue that she's had many husbands and lovers of both sexes. Gay Tony.
Are you from the Ballad of Gay Tony?
From the Ballad of Gay Tony from Grand Theft Auto 4.
I remember playing that. Fabulous representation of a 90s game.
That was the name. The actual DLC was called The Ballad of Gay Tony.
He's quite funny in the game. I don't know if you played it.
Can't get much more explicit than that. And my last one was Jimmy Hopkins from the game Bully in 2006. Did you ever play Bully?
No, I never played it. I saw it at Video Easy when I used to go get games, though.
Yeah, so that was a Rockstar game.
Yes.
Wildly read as bisexual, which comes from a gameplay mechanic rather than an explicit storyline. Once Jimmy completes the art class, he can date and kiss both girls and boys.
Oy.
One boy from each clique and 6 in total for a health bonus.
Naturally,
Exactly
after
as
an
a game
art
with
class.
girls. But the reason why they say it's bi-coded is because on the Xbox 360 release, there is an achievement you can unlock called Over the Rainbow for kissing 6 male characters. The 6 male characters that can be kissed 20 times.
Thanks, Xbox.
Yeah, that's 2006 representation.
That is so
for you.
funny.
So those are my honorable mentions. What are yours?
So my final
Mitchell?
one's going to be slightly more queer coded, and I'm going to talk about one paragon of queerness that people often look at, and then like a couple that are kind of more inspired by queerness.
Sure.
So the first one I'm going to talk about is the classic Birdo.
Birdo!
Birdo is a classic queer coded character. Now, originally from 1988 here in the West, historically was transcoded. In the manual, originally when this game came out from Super Mario Bros. 2, was originally described as believing that she is a girl and wanted to be called Birdetta. That was the official translation of it, right? Now, obviously, it was retconned out. They've made it just into a girl now, which is totally fine. No trans like allegory in there anywhere, but it's still obviously looked at as kind of like a trans representation.
Yeah, and that's been widely spoken
taken on.
about. Yeah.
And obviously, it's maybe a little bit problematic by modern standards that it's like, I believe I'm a girl, and like they've kind of washed it away. But I think it's still important that we can look back and be like, this was an attempt to try it. My two other options are not explicitly queer at all, but I think they're influenced by queerness. The first one being Sheik from Ocarina of Time. Now,
Interesting.
obviously,
Yeah. I get
I
that
know
one.
Sheik from Smash Bros. Because I haven't played Ocarina of Time, but I thought it was really interesting because it's just Zelda doing drag, right? It's Zelda breaking out of this idea that she's a woman that can't do things and taking on a masculine persona and becoming extremely competent, which I thought was a very interesting queer look. She's representing as a male character. It can be read as maybe trans, maybe queer. I don't think it's really explicitly in the game, but I guess if you want to read it, you can. It's kind of, I would say it's queer coding accidentally because it's showing that she's suddenly become more able by expressing herself in like a more queer way, which I think is really cool. And I think Sheik is just kind of like a cool character. And my final one that I'm going to mention, which is actually one of my favorite characters in gaming, Bayonetta. Now,
yes.
Bayonetta is not a queer woman. Well, I don't know. She kind of flirts with everyone. I would argue very strongly that she is basically just a drag queen, but as a biological woman. She's a bio queen. She's basically a drag queen, right? She's obviously embraced pretty heavily by queer people. Gay men love her. She's pretty amazing. She's hyper feminine. She's very theatrical. She's pretty sexually empowered as well, which I guess is kind of queer adjacent.
Yep.
And she's just very camp. She's super camp. The games themselves are the campest games.
Yeah.
I think she just shows like beyond like a queer character being named as queer. You know how like gays will pick their like diva?
Oh, she's that
a
typical female protagonist that gay men
Yes.
just love to imprint on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just think that she's so fantastic. I wanted to mention her because, like I said, she's not explicitly queer, but she's so inspired by queerness that I think that she makes my list as one of my favorite queer characters, or queer coded, I should say.
Yeah. And there's so many more. There's so many
Thank
more
God, by
we
the
could
way.
talk about, but we really wanted to just pick some of our favorites today to talk about. And, like I even found a Wikipedia page and, God knows how accurate it is. But, there's representation right back to like the 80s with like underground games. Like I found one from 1988, Casper in the Castro, featuring the characters Tracker McDyke and Tessie LaFemme.
Oh my God.
Which was a murder mystery problem-solving game for Apple Mac computers written in the HyperCard language, distributed on underground gay bulletin boards, starring the lesbian detective Tracker McDyke. And the person CM Ralph, who wrote the game, later released a straight-wash version called Murder on Main Street.
Not in the Castro anymore.
Caper in the Castro. I thought, oh my God, I need to find that. That's fantastic.
Can you say those names of those characters again, please?
Tracker McDyke.
And the other one?
Which was a lesbian. And Tessie LaFemme, who was a drag queen.
Incredible.
I know.
My new drag name, Tessie LaFemme.
I know. It's so funny. But yeah, so dear listener, we would love to hear from you as well. Get in touch with us on the Discord. Email us on bargainbingamer, GAYMER @gmail.com. Or you can also fill out the feedback form on our website, or send us a note on socials, bargainbingamer, GAYMER on Instagram and Blue Sky. We'd love to hear who are your favorite characters in the queer space. And for what reason? Is there anyone you think we missed? Did we misrepresent any of these characters in any way? We'd love to get your feedback because we just love hearing from you.
But also, it's Pride Month. Queerness is under attack in parts of the world. Discussing queer people out and proud will always be a revolution. So let's talk about it. We're here. We're queer. We're not going away.
That's right.
Get used to it.
Get used to it, buddy.
But anyway, it's been fun.
It's been fun.
It has been genuinely fun.
And it's just been a nice reflective as well. Like, I feel like today's topic was a little bit more near and dear to our hearts than our regular episode. Like,
I know. And we could honestly sit here and talk for 2 hours about it, because there was like, the more I researched, the more I realized like the main character from Celeste as well. Like there's so many more we could be talking about.
Because there's so much subtext in some of these games. But the booking for Bulldog is going to run out, so we can't keep yapping.
Exactly. We're pretty much 2 minutes over our time in the studio. So until next time, I've been
Davey.
And I've been Mitch.
We've been
the Bargain Bin Gamers.
I said, oh no, I've done that already.
See ya.
Bye.